Today, I'm going to go over a template that I created that may help you if you're managing vacation accruals and tracking time off. So what this template will do is take your inputs, determine what the journal entry should look like, what your reconciliation is based on your vacation liabilities and all that. So I'm going to go through how it works. So the main tab is this employee info tab. This is where we'll enter in the employee information, their wages. The per day and the vacation rates will automatically get calculated based on the wage information and the total hours. So the normal assumption is that an 8-hour day is typical, and we're basing it off of 2,000 annual hours. So that's how these are being calculated. The effective date, this is the date that an employee starts working or when there's a change in their rates. So for example, here I've got 2 entries for Jack Smith. So from January 1st until May 31st, he had a 4% vacation rate and was making $10 per hour. But then as of June 1st, he was making $15 an hour and his vacation rate changed to 6%. So that's why I've got an effective date here for June the 1st to say, okay, this is when that person's new rates applied. And so that's key for this calculation, for this template to enable to reconcile correctly what those totals should be based on any point in time. And so you can specify your start of the year, your end of the year, and also the cutoff date. So the cutoff date is basically you want to know what your vacation liabilities are as of a certain date. So you may want to set it to today's date, but for now I've just set it to December 31, 2024. And we also have a list of holidays. And this is for the purpose of calculating time off, because obviously if someone's taken time off and it includes a holiday, we're not going to count the holidays as one of their days being used. So that's the overview for the employee info tab. Now over on the time off tab, this is where we can enter in when someone's off work. So we've got John Burns, Brett Anderson, they took off time. So in the case of John Burns, took off time from January 3rd up until January the 5th. And so we can specify whether it was vacation or for a sick day, and it'll calculate the hours taken and at the hourly rate that based on these days. So it's going to take all that into account to determine what the rate is, what the hours are based on that range. So this is where we can fill in all those time off requests and all the time people were away. Next up, I've got a calendar tab, and this is really just for a visual way to see when people were off work. So for example, if I change the time off here so that Brett's time off was a sick day rather than a vacation day, it's going to update on here and it's going to show in a different color. So the idea being that you can color coordinate to see, what was a vacation day versus a sick day. Just a way to sort of conceptualize and see when people were off and for which reason. So here we've got these gray cells for weekends, but then we've got time off requests that are for vacation going to be in blue, and sick days in red. Now, if I went here in the time off request and changed this to say, okay, this person's off until January the 6th, or let's say January the 7th even, it's not going to adjust the time for the hours taken because January 7th, as you can see from this calendar, is a weekend. So is the 6th. So it's going to take into account those weekends to ensure that it's got the correct calculation. Next up, the reconciliation tab. And so how this reconciliation tab works is it's calculating the hours accrued and the dollars accrued as well. So you can enter in a starting balance. So this person may have had 10 hours at the start of the year. If you track it, if you don't, then they start at 0, whatever the case may be. It's going to calculate the hours earned based on those inputs from the employee info tab. So determining when they started, if their accrual rate changed over the course of the year, and then deduct how many hours they've taken for vacation. So John Burns was the only person who had time off that was actually vacation. So we're not reducing by sick days here. So the reconciliation is only going to take into account vacation hours used, and then it's going to calculate that ending balance. Now, you can follow along with a link I'll have related to this post that walks you a step-by-step example as to how this calculates. and an example of how it works when there's a rate change. But basically what it's going to do is calculate the number of days at this vacation rate and the number of days at the new vacation rate. In the case of Jack Smith, who had it changed in their vacation rate, it's going to factor in both those days to see how many days was at this rate versus how many days at that other rate. So if you want to follow along with that one, check out the post related to this video. I'll leave a link to that one, and you can see how that's calculated. And on the same time, you can track the actual dollar amounts, and this is obviously very useful if you're tracking your liabilities balances and making sure that you've got enough in your vacation liabilities account. So both on dollars earned or dollars accrued and vacation hours accrued, you can track both of them in here. And again, they'll factor in the wages as well. Lastly, we've got the journal entry tab. So here we can specify, what pay period, the start date and end date. It's going to calculate the number of days, working days within that range or wage, and calculate our vacation accrual, again, based on those earlier inputs. So by using this template, you can track your reconciliations, you can enter in your journal entries, and you can also visually see the time off. So it gives you a really good comprehensive view of the vacation that's been used, what you need to have in your liability account, and also as far as managing to see who's off when. So there's a lot of different functions it can help you do, and this is something that I used when I was working, and I found it very helpful to me to track vacation, just because it can get really complicated and messy when people start changing rates or there's difference in wages. So check out the template. I'll leave a link in the description of this video, and if you like this video, please make sure to subscribe and watch for more. Thanks for watching.